So we're here, man. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, Doc. So like we were saying, like even off camera, like we just gonna do what we do in front of the people.
Yeah.
And they can learn what they need to get from this. So welcome. I want to welcome everybody to a Vlad TV style episode of Conversations in Rhythm podcast. You know what I'm saying? I'm your host, Larry Drawn, and I have a very, very, very special guest tonight, Mr. William Darity.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, man. Glad. I know a lot of people are going to be geeked out to hear you talk because you already know, man, God's giving you a lot, you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
And so I know in my dealings with other people that they always want to know like stuff that's going on in your head because they hear it, you know what I'm saying? And they're like, yo, what the heck, yo? So let's go ahead, man. Let's jump on into it. So one of the things I've always appreciated about your artistry is you blend the worlds of self-taught and educated, super country, super sedity, super black, super white. You know what I mean? Like you are truly like an American artist. You know what I mean?
Thank you, man.
And so yeah, man, like how did you like however you want to hit it, like how did you arrive at this epiphany that you have that everybody hears and loves and wants to get a piece of?
I think part of it, now that you're saying it out loud, I think I'm processing it right now. And it's part of the way I understand what something is to also investigate the opposite.
Wow. Okay.
So it's like, okay, you want to play fast?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Try real slow.
Mm-hmm.
Try the metronome on like 40.
Right.
And then go back to 300.
Right.
Like they have meaning because of each other. They are each other's context.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I went to, you want to talk about my upbringing?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
It's like, first I went to a little private Montessori school.
Okay.
That was like almost an integration 91 starting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm dealing with that. Then I go to public school for some years. Go back to the Montessori.
Mm-hmm.
Then go to Durham Academy, which is very private, like an old Durham private school.
Okay.
So that's a very white experience in a different type of way. But very formative band experience. Jeff Zentner. That's also a little bit after I started taking private lessons with my main man, may he eternally rest in power, Rich Robeson, who shaped a lot of my concept and thinking of the instrument. Basically, he's the one who like brought me from just, I had picked up the guitar at the house, I was fiddling with it, and I could pluck out a little simple melody, and they were like, here, he's trying. My parents brought me to Rich. Yeah. And he was like, I'll try. And he took me on, and I stuck with him till I left high school.
And what age was that?
So 9 to 18, basically.
Wow. So, okay. Well, so you start taking private lessons at the age of 9, like, but you talked about that important period where like your family realized that you had something special. Mm-hmm. Like what age was that? Like how long had you?
Probably around 7, 8.
Okay.
Like not long before.
Right.
My brother had taken lessons with Rich.
Okay.
And another guy before, his name I can't remember. Mm-hmm. But he had taken lessons with Rich and then left the guitar. Mm-hmm. And it was just laying around. One day I picked it up, didn't know how to tune it, just started trying to play it. And then it was like, okay, he's picked it up again. All right. Wow. Oh, he kind of got like 2 notes from the song. Okay, he got the 3rd note. Like, yeah. It slowly. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, let's get him lessons. He's trying to do something.
Now, question, because, I know a little bit of inside information because we bruds.
Right.
But like what style of music were you trying to deal with were you picking up stuff off of the
It
radio?
was
Were you
most
listening to
likely
your pops records?
some blues, and it being the most melodically simple was probably something I could pick up on. I can't even remember what I was trying to play. But that comes back to Rich because he liked really progressive, complicated music. He was up on West African music. Like, he was up on Indian classical music to a heavy degree. He was up on jazz fusion. Like, this was all part of his curriculum. Like, he's showing me his transcriptions of Mahavishnu Orchestra.
Wow.
In my lessons when I'm like 15 and 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I see why he was so important, because he opened you up to the world.
But to that point, while he was hip to all this, like, as Wendell Logan, another great teacher, Wendell Logan founded the jazz department at Oberlin, where I ended up at college. Wendell would call them extensions and abstractions.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
That's what I want to write as a composer.
Right.
So Rich was into all that, but he always emphasized the blues. Started me on the blues. Like, that was the first thing he taught me to play before we read a note. Like, I'm going to get you going with this. This is the heart of what we're talking about. And he would always say, whenever he would learn about music from another culture, and he was very well traveled, he went all sorts of places. He would go, okay, that's cool, but what's y'all's blues?
Right. Wow.
What is the blues in India? What is the blues in, West Africa? What is the blues in Switzerland? Like, okay, give me the Alpenhorn.
Right.
Like, he played the Alpenhorn.
Wow.
Like, on a Swiss Alp. Like, he went there.
Yeah, I dig. So this is brilliant. So your teacher, like, he's really the reason why you're able to reconcile, like, the super artsy and, like, super folk, like the super heady intellectual with, like, super, you know what I'm saying, like, informal, like, real, like country, you know what I'm saying, like country people. Just,
there's that.
Wow.
There's that. There's, like, the rural, urban. There's, like, it's also my parents, because my dad played a lot of music. My mom played a lot of music. And it's like, now I look back and there's the music that they got into together. They got into together because that was the time period when they met in Texas. Okay. So, like, there's a part of their relationship that's about, like, blues and, like, Texas swing and Texican music. So there's a thing where my dad would play, like, Willie Bobo and, like, these, like, conjunto blues bands where it's like, oh, they got B3 and they all probably play on a blues gig or a Zydeco gig too or something like that, because you got that whole Gulf thing. Excuse me. You got the whole Gulf thing where there's music that's just of that region and not just one city or one state. And then there's also things like, we played this groove here. Right. Like, specifically, this is our thing. Exactly. Like, if you're going to try and play this music, we'll pull up. Like, yeah. Wow. So we have a problem with that. Right. That's killing, man. So I know it was that deep. Yeah. That's killing. So 15, I met you was what, 16, 17? Somewhere in there.
Yeah. And like, you were already, like, dealing with changes.
Did you go to the Kenny Garrett, Nick Payton thing?
Nah, I actually stayed in town that night.
I was about to say, that was a night.
Because Jemiah was on drums that night.
That was a night a lot of us met.
Yeah.
Because it was such a... I met JC that night.
Yeah. Well, I was at the session afterwards. Yes. Yeah, I didn't see the show. So, yeah, that's when
we might have met there.
Yeah. Wow.
Either there or Tallulah's or something like that.
Well, definitely Tallulah's, because I was playing with Brian.
It was back when my mom started letting me go to Tallulah's, by myself.
That's killing.
Yeah. I think the first time maybe Dave Potter took me or somebody like that. Dave Potter taught me in high school. Another, like, interesting, like, example of opposite for me, because he's like, I was at a time where I was getting into like ECM.
Okay.
Like the airy side of like Chick Corea and like all of cats because of the way it's mixed and the way that Manfred Eicher would like talk to guys in the studio. Like a lot of guys would just be like, all right, these are your tunes. All right, cool. But he'd be like, no, right here, play something that sounds like water. And the guy might be like, what? Like, no, I need water right here. And so it made them think differently, like sonic tapestry, like. But Dave was very like Lincoln Center, like.
Okay.
Like Winton, like right after the Young Lions, like when he started to go more traditional. Like Dave was like, that's it. Like, you swinging or like get out of here.
Right.
And I would have these arguments with him. We'd argue.
Okay. And like, what were those arguments?
Like a whole class period.
Okay.
And he would be like, the guitar will never comp like the piano, and this and that. And I'd be like, try to find examples like, listen to this. Listen to this George Benson trio. Listen to that. Listen to this. I'm telling you. Like, this dude on this record, he's got a concept. And Dave would just be like, no. And he put on Marcus Roberts. And, you know, you can't argue with Marcus Roberts.
No, you can't.
You can't.
Well, my question is, to that, do you think that, in retrospect, first off, that he appreciated that prodigious thing in you? Because
for sure.
I can only imagine the rest of your colleagues. I know the other kids in the class weren't as adamant and weren't like that. So
Dave did everything he could to help me. Like he turned us on to Florida State Jazz Camp. Me and Kenny Phelps McEwen and Russell all went.
Yeah.
He helped me with auditions. Like he helped me, you know. Now I understand, like, Dave lives in the jazz club part of my brain.
Okay.
Where you play bebop and you play it right.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you let the people that came to hear that have that. And if you mess with it, it's got to be in a specific type of way.
Okay. That's good. So, wow.
Yeah. And it's like now I have that, and then it's like a church thing. Like I have my weirdness, but it's got to fit into a CCM song.
Got you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's got to make sense here. And there's a way that you can be weird in a way that type of keyboard player understands. And they'll just be like, oh yeah, I got you.
All right.
Right. But if like I have to call a different audible if we're just like spang bang a lang. Now there are some musicians, it's wonderful to play with piano players, like somebody like Chucky really understands both.
Right.
To a certain level.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, I could give you either.
Exactly.
Or both at the same time or whatever. Or I'll do one and you do the other and we're aware. But I'll meet you back at the top.
Right.
You know? So that's a different type of linguistic conversation you can have.
I agree. My second part about Dave being your mentor, do you think now, being older and being an educator yourself, do you think that part of like that jostling back and forth with you, he was basically like tricking you into going deeper into the music?
Maybe so. I will say this. I am certain that he wouldn't have taken the time to even let me talk to him about it that much if he didn't believe in something that he saw within me.
That's good. Wow.
So, like, the same thing with the kids at my job. I'm like, I'm not really here to argue with you.
Right.
But if I'm hearing something, I'm like, okay, no.
Right. Listen, that's
go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
No, everybody stop.
Yeah.
You got it.
Right. That's real, yo. That's real. Well, you made me think about something that I knew about, but I never really associated with our musical dynamic until now. So there are three types of spirituals. There's the Jubilee, the Sorrow Song, and then the esoteric spiritual.
Okay.
And we could make esoteric synonymous with weird. You just use the word weird.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And I find it, one of the things that I've enjoyed about your artistry and what people who are not as close to you tell me all the time about what they love in your artistry is what you hit on earlier. You're able to blend all of these opposites. You're able to blend all of these genres. But even in your blending, like you're able to, like you have a very unique voice. And within that voice, like you said, you can play some real, like, okay, for example, whenever we start playing together a lot, like whenever you was coming back and forth from Oberlin, it was almost like you were in this intentional, like melismatic, not quite smooth jazz, but very like, you know what I'm saying? Very like R&B, but very Afro melismatic thing. Cause I remember that's what Ernest loved about your playing. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was like, yo, you would always find like the sweet thing that we would hear in like 90s R&B or like, you know what I'm saying, 80s R&B, and you would put that over top of the bebop we were dealing with, or, you know what I'm saying, or the post-bop, or basically the Spangalang we were dealing with. At what point in your artistry, like, did things really begin to crystallize, you know? Because, yeah, I feel like I'm talking.
I feel like something that was happening at that time period was I'm in this school environment where people are from all over the country, some all over the world, especially in the conservatory. On the classical side, you got like Japanese kids, you got Dutch kids, you got everything. And Americans from all over America. You got the Caribbean there.
And this is at Oberlin Conservatory.
Right.
I dig. I'm just saying, the viewers, they need to know like how serious this is.
The jazz department at that time was probably about 70 kids.
Okay.
It may be more now. I'm not really up on, exactly what's going on over there. But in any event, I started to understand a difference in between how the music was played there and it was in North Carolina. In North Carolina, it was more pocket. And there are some players that could play in that world of like harmonic, whatever, and some that couldn't. But because of how many there were, they often be on the same gig.
Right, that's real.
Which made it interesting, and like it really made me really think about the rhythm section. And after a while, I started to just miss the North Carolina rhythm section. The way that the bass players and the drummers hook up and emphasize, like, we will give up some of this, I don't want to say inventiveness, but it's just like the beat comes first. And it reminds me of a conversation I had with a classical guitarist where it's like somebody had a piece playing maybe or something. And I was like, oh man, that sounds beautiful, but I wish the time felt a little better. And he was like, well, in our world, touch is king. And everything else is subservient to that.
That's good.
And I was thinking in jazz, like, oh, rhythm is king. And everything else is subservient. And the greatest musicians are doing all of those things, but whatever they put, even just a hair of importance above something else shows where they're coming from. If you can discern that in your ear.
I hope everybody just picked up on that. That's a major nugget of wisdom you just dropped.
Yeah. So it made me think about how I play the guitar. And Bobby Ferrazza, my teacher at Oberlin, I would say the biggest thing I got from him is like, while he was definitely coming from jazz, the way he touched the instrument is intentional, like a classical guitarist as well. So this is somebody who toured in a a wagon in the hot summer with no AC behind Jack McDuff. But you give him an acoustic guitar, no amp, and it's just like, oh, that's what strings are supposed to sound like. Thank you for reminding me of.
That's good.
You know.
Well, wait a second. Let's really like unpack this touch thing, because in my world, right, with the drums, you already know the cat who's king of touch, pause, is Brian Blade. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah, so like, yeah. And because of that, see
his phone rings because of that. Exactly.
But it ain't
I'm imagining.
What nah, it's true, because the thing is that he's especially now, you know, he's reached a level in his artistry where it's like he's his own thing. But you said something that was so powerful. You talked about in one world, in the classical world, touch is the focus. In the jazz world, rhythm is the focus.
Yeah.
Who were some of the cats that you because the reason why I mentioned Blade is because Blade to me is like the perfect reconciliation of those two.
Yeah.
Because Blade can play some old, he sound like he is from Louisiana. It's like he can play that stuff, but then he can also play the Fireflies and Lanterns. You know what I'm saying? So like who in your estimation is like the master of that? And then talk to me about that in your own artistry.
Okay, so Charlie Christian, he was recorded early in technology. So that's the only thing I wish he could have been captured with, like more modern equipment.
Moderns, yeah.
You know, but he had that raw street thing, but he also had a perfect execution. Like, and of course, like they weren't gonna put it out, but like there was not room to be wasting tape in the studio. Like now I'm working at the house digitally. I can spend 6 weeks just on the hi-hats if I feel like it, because it's digital.
Right.
I'm not throwing anything away. I'm just wasting my own electricity. But Charlie Christian, like you listen to his albums, they are perfect. They are like jazz. They have become, because they should have become, like jazz canon.
Wow.
Like okay, you talk about djembe, right? You learn a rhythm. There's a groove. There's parts that correspond to like a dance step that set up the next section. So there's a solo at some point in some of these rhythms where the drummer is improvising and you're improvising along with the dancer. There's a solo original that people learn, right? That might be the first one recorded or one that's passed down. Like, this is the example of a solo. Like, before you're allowed to improvise,
right?
You learn this example solo.
Okay.
Right? And Charlie Christian is that. Like, if you think about the tunes he played, like Honeysuckle Rose, like, I think of Charlie Christian as the solo original.
Wow.
Of that.
That's
the standard.
You done piqued my interest. See, I've dealt with some Charlie Christian, but not like that. So now I got to go back, and do a whole listening study on Charlie Christian. Wow,
that and it's like it's so beautiful and melodically logical.
Okay,
that you don't think about it as difficult to execute. And then you pull out the guitar and you're like, oh snap, this is gonna take a minute. Never mind. Let me block off a week.
So you just said like logical. Would you consider him like the Clifford of guitar? Like if we were to try to draw a functional equivalent?
In a way, like, you're just not going to catch him missing a note. No matter how intricate whatever it is he gets into. That just has to be a testament to probably some talent, but there had to be a serious ethic of practice and an honesty with self.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, that wasn't good enough. Do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Just like take the ego out
Mm-hmm.
and like that only this is okay. I can't go in front of the people with less.
Yeah, you spitting, Doc. Now you're talking about humility.
Right.
You're talking about humility. I heard one definition of humility in a service as true humility is simply agreement with the truth about what's wrong with you.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. If I could take it back to the rhythm versus touch.
Yes, please. Yeah.
I have to consider Ellington.
Okay. All right.
As a pianist and also the orchestrations of the band.
Okay.
And the way the orchestrations are rendered,
mm-hmm.
like by the musicians, is like a perfect combination of both. I think Lincoln Center is carrying some of that legacy and may have even pushed it further towards the touch side.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the other side,
mm-hmm.
basic.
Come on, Jack.
It's a little less complicated, rich arrangements, but
yeah,
those aren't the hits he's trying to set up. He's trying to set up these hits.
Right.
So, okay, you look at Herbie Chick Keith.
Mm-hmm.
I might have to say Chick played the least grease.
I would agree.
Because Keith put it in there.
Yeah.
He just made you had to walk around the mulberry bush with Keith before he give it to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, Herbie's giving it to you the whole time.
Yeah.
And it might be hidden in some sort of jacked up chord.
Right.
But it's there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's an interesting, like, a lot of people play Herbie Chick Keith.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, maybe not even which camp are you in,
mm-hmm.
but it's just like, you gotta give it to Chick on just execution.
Yeah, Chick don't miss.
Execution of the piano.
Yeah.
Whereas Herbie's gonna play some stuff neither of them can play.
Mm-hmm.
And Keith is just...
Yeah.
How do you even describe
mm-hmm.
what's happening? You just gotta play it for somebody.
Right.
Like, no, it's R&B, and it's free, and there's bebop, and like, I don't know, just listen to it.
Right, just check it out. Yeah, Keith Jarrett is very, very, very special.
Yeah.
So, okay, that brings me to my next point. Because even throughout this conversation, you've mentioned like several heavy pianists. Like you mentioned Marcus Roberts, you mentioned Duke and Basie, you mentioned Chick, Herbie, Keith Jarrett. How much has the piano and master jazz pianists, how much has that influenced your artistry?
Oh, it's huge. I love piano. I mean, also within a rhythm section, you get into a lot of arguments with piano players, especially at a jam session. Well, I used to love a new piano player.
Okay.
A stranger.
Okay.
Because they come in like, oh, he's either going to lay out when I'm comping, or he's just going to give a nice little polite Freddie Green. And I'll just be like, nah, I'm monk too.
All right. Okay. I like that. I'm monk too. Okay.
And then they'd be like, wait, I got to figure out if they're paying attention.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're just on autopilot.
Right.
But if they're paying attention, they're like, okay, I got to do something different.
Uh-huh.
But now I'm a little older and wiser, and I might try to like settle into, okay, one of you play pads.
Yeah.
One of you play rhythm. Like,
yeah.
And I don't know what your viewership, like, pads are when one person holds a chord like through a measure or longer, like, and then the other person's playing something more rhythmic, because it's like if you're both doing something rhythmic, it could clutter.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be specific how those rhythmic parts fit.
That's very true.
With each other, like just like a drum rhythm section. If I'm playing rhythm and another guitar player is playing rhythm, we gotta be thinking like, you know, a rhythm section like drummers, which is what made Prince so interesting, because in terms of how he would lay down tracks in the studio, like, all right, let me get on drums first. All right, bet. Okay, give me the guitar. And he laid down one rhythm part, and then another rhythm part that interlocks within this, and this is all happening within like 30 minutes. All right, give me the bass. So being able to like play all those instruments and understand how they function together as a producer is like huge, because an idea comes, and in order to render it, you know, in its real essence, you have to do it quickly before you lose it. So that's one of the things I'm wrestling in the studio, is like just doing it all the time, every day, or at least every week if I can, and just like getting the muscles quicker, getting the time between when I receive an idea, thank you God, to when I can start hearing something back and shape it and manipulate it. You know,
that's powerful. Now that's good too, because okay, we were talking about what you've gotten from pianists, and then you talked about the relationship between the guitar and the piano, and then that led you to Prince, right, which is killing. And then that led you to your work as a producer. And I was actually telling somebody like recently how talking with you at this point in your artistry, like you on a whole nother vibe, I've noticed since you began producing, because even the way that you explain, I've always learned things about harmony from you, but now that you have a greater understanding of like the manipulation of frequency and how these frequencies work together, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've noticed in playing with you in an improvisational setting that it's like a whole nother vibe. Like the way that we're hooking up it's different. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, okay, wait a second. I never thought to explore that passage of a song purely from the standpoint of high frequencies. Like literally just thinking of me dealing with the drums and interacting with what you're playing from a frequency standpoint. And I can honestly say, like, that's your fault. You know what I'm saying? Like, in a good way.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So
that's funny.
You mentioned Prince, and you just gave people a lot of insight. But talk to me about how studio work and you having 6 weeks to tweak a hi-hat. How has that improved things on the guitar that maybe you were trying to get at for years and couldn't get at, but this particular study has helped improve?
So I am a lot more specific about the sound I'm trying to get out of the instrument. Sitting there in the studio just listening to stuff back on headphones, and then like listening to reference tracks, like if I'm trying to like get to like an 80s funk groove, I'm gonna pull up some of those sound references. Like it's got to, if not sound like them, it's got to, like, if an 80s DJ is doing a party, I want my track to fit in, and people don't like shudder or like it doesn't stick out. You know what I mean? It's got to fit into the mix. So I am learning about mixing as I go, little by little, and it's just made me think about how my instrument sounds and how it fits into the band. So like, where is my amp? How big is my amp? What is my amp set on? How much wood is in the room? How much concrete? Is there any dampening? Is it just boomy? Okay, this bass player is playing real loud. Let me just roll off of my low end and give him some more room down there. Because we were clashing. Or like, man, this drummer's hitting the cymbals hard. I'm going to have to use my bridge pickup and get a brighter sound and cut. Or like, I'm going to switch back to this pickup on this section of the song. Like, okay, it's not my solo. Let me have a darker sound and support or whatever's going on. So it's just like, because you and I have so much references in common, it could just be funny when we play. Because the only hard part is picking which reference right now.
That's very true. Yeah.
That's the only hard part. As long as we know the song, like, it's a game.
Right.
And then sometimes it's like, what happens to the other people on the bandstand?
That's very true.
But like, that's what's really fun when we got our friends who shared some of the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody brings that other X factor that's like just stuff you're into. So that's why we improvise.
Right.
Like, because we can play the same tune the next night and not really know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Be completely different.
You know? But, yeah, is that, what were you talking about before that?
Well, no.
We went around.
Well, no, that's good because, see, I want to hear about your concept in your improvisations, but let's pause right there.
Also the production piece.
Exactly, but now you said something that was very powerful that I want to ask you to kind of sum it up, or maybe my estimation is wrong. To me, it sounds like, okay, you being behind the mixing board has helped your acoustic understanding.
Yes,
in an improvisation.
Okay. Because when I'm mixing, I'm trying to use the reverb and delay to put the instrument. Got all this from Chris Lord Algie.
All right, bet. Shout out to Chris Lord
Algie.
All right.
He's talking about using what is now done, okay, call it in the box. If you're doing everything in the computer, you're using plugins instead of like all the gear that could take up a whole wall.
Okay.
In a studio. You can purchase that, or some of the software comes with it already loaded in there. And you can replicate what that gear does in the box. And you can do that digitally to replicate the concept of each instrument being mic'd in a certain type of space. So like, you're subtly giving the listener the experience of hearing, I could digitally take a sample of these drums and then use reverb and delay or whatever. Like how long does the reverb last? How does the attack sound? All of these factors to make it sound like the room is this size, or a football stadium, or anything in between. And that's made me think about, okay, how am I playing this room? I'm always thinking, is there too much of this, too much of that, not enough this? I am mixing from my instrument first, and then the sound guy or woman or whomever is mixing gets to do what they do. So like a sound engineer loves a band that is already listening to each other and mixing on stage, because the more balanced they already are, that gives them more room to do fun stuff. Bring this out, put that back in the back, really let the cymbals ring out right now, and then shorten the ring because there's more going on. Whatever needs to be done. I'm thinking in a band that's fun like yours, where we have an arrangement, but there's also like, who knows what's going to happen sections. Yeah. It's like, that's fun because you can kind of like, you're writing on the spot now, I think about it. Like, okay, the space in my mind, okay, there's like the idea in the studio when you're doing a take. It could be with a live band or somebody overdubbing something. It's like, what do I want to get out of this take? So now I'm starting to think, once I know the length or the structure of the song, I want to get close to being able to play. Like if I'm playing guitar number 3, I want to get as close to getting a take all the way through as I can. Like it's a live gig and I can't stop and go back.
Mm-hmm.
So the space in my mind between a take and just like playing a tune live on a gig, I'm trying to get that closer and closer together so that I'm just like, I'm producing all the time.
That's killing. That's killing. So really like the production has helped like your meta it's almost, to me it sounds like the in fact I'll say macro. It sounds like the production has like really solidified your macro, and that macro understanding is now increased and solidified your micro understanding, or like your micro approach to the instrument.
Yeah, you could say that. If I understand what you mean, yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, one of the things that I love about jazz education is that everybody gets a chance to write big band charts. And me personally, when I began writing, it informed what I was trying to do behind the kit a lot more. It clarified things. But then when I began writing for like 20 people, and then hearing that and then having to make adjustments, you know what I'm saying? Because like I look at, it's like, as far as like the continuum of Black music, I look at, to me, Ellington holds the same weight as a Dilla in a specific context. Whenever I just talk about Black composers, when I just think of like a Black composer that is intentionally dealing with the nuances of Black harmony and Black rhythm. Now, granted, Dilla's nowhere near as prolific. You know what I'm saying? He didn't do as much for world music as Ellington. You know what I'm saying? But just the basic point of, you got Black dude A, who's very aware of what he's trying to do on a macro scale. You know what I'm saying? And Black dude B, that's very aware of what he's trying to do on a macro scale. And
it was hard to say. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, please.
But it's like, it's hard to compare the impact because there's still time.
Yeah, for both.
Like,
yeah.
Well, all I know is like the AI is trying to make Dilla beats.
Yeah, but that's like a whole.
It'll tell you it's trying to do that.
Yeah, that's like a whole nother thing, man. Like,
so
that's like a whole nother thing. We could talk, but let's talk about it. Though.
Like you could look at Ellington's ripple effect on pop music, right?
Okay, yeah.
What was that? Maybe he raised the bar of orchestration for Hollywood films in a way. And then J Dilla is like, okay, every sector of pop music, like even the country station, very slowly is creeping towards Dilla.
Yeah, you can't help it, because that's how important that particular iteration of Black rhythm, that's how important it is right now.
Somebody said that was the last development in American pop rhythm. I guess you could say trap and then drill after that.
Yeah. No. That's the thing. I would vehemently disagree with that, because the thing about Black rhythm is that it's always moving forward. I think the reason why they would say that is because the difference in the message behind the message that's going over the top of the rhythms.
There's that. But also, I think it's more so the last that the Academy
would recognize. Yeah, but the Academy is a bunch of idiots. It's like it usually takes the Academy anywhere between a decade to 2 decades to even realize what Black people are doing.
Exactly.
And that's good. No, I think it's good, because we know what the Academy at the end of the day is trying to do. Like, they want to codify it so that they can control it and then rewrite the history on it. And that's like a whole nother thing.
I mean, they're on time.
We go with it.
They're on time. Late is on time.
Yeah, because I agree. By the time they figure it out. Well, yeah, because part of it is the archival nature of the academy. But no, but what I mean is, I ain't gonna front. I'm on my conspiratorial piece right now.
Fair enough.
It's like it just the thing. Yeah, let's talk about this. So let's set this up, right? We both have had our time in the academy. Let me just say this:
that takes time because the cultural impact has to be observed first in order for it to be seen as worth usurping.
I dig. Okay, so let's keep on that, right? Because what you're doing is you're it's almost like we're playing good cop, bad cop, and you're the good cop and I'm the bad cop, right? And I'm okay with that. Here's what I would say to that: if their hearts were right, meaning that they weren't trying to steal, you know what I'm saying, and trying to control culture and the world's view of culture, honestly, in my opinion, like, I would have a whole section of my department and all it would be is, okay, look, we need all you 18-year-olds, your job is to tell me what's hot right now. And we would talk about it while it's happening and connect it immediately to everything else in the curriculum. So that, first off, what I've learned, because, teaching elementary school kids has like really helped me. It's like, okay, if I know what they're doing, like here it is, I'm trying to play them some bassy and they're not really feeling it. But I'm listening, but what I'll do is I'll play some drill music and then I'll cut it off and then show them in the bassy chart where that particular rhythm that they like in the drill. I'll be like, well, yo, they did it right here, listen. And to see their little faces light up like, holy crap. You know what I'm saying? To me, I think that's really what the university should be doing and I think we got certain programs that try to do that. Like I think Berkeley's trying to do it. I think that's really the thing behind, at least in the name, the new school. I think that it's just like Dr. Barry Harris said, man, it's just a lot of lame people in education. That's really what the problem is. It's because it's a business, you got a bunch of lames, you know what I'm saying? And because they got however many degrees and letters in front of their name, they're posers acting like they are super hip and like they are super aware. And unfortunately, in a lot of instances, that outshines the people that are actually qualified, you know what I'm saying, to talk about stuff.
Right.
I had a brilliant conversation with Thomas Taylor the other day, man. Shout out to Thomas because, Thomas teaches the hip hop course. He has a whole hip hop course that he does at Central. So you got this black school, got a black guy in his 50s.
A drum set player.
Exactly.
Teaching that class.
Yeah. I was trying, you hit all the layers. And me and him, we've had these kind of conversations. Like I remember one time we were talking about, this is so cool. We were talking about like the baby. We were talking about Little Baby and the baby. Okay. And he was telling me how he wasn't feeling it. I was like, yo, Thomas, man, I'm going to keep it funky with you, Doc. Go back and listen to the baby and Little Baby. Listen to the rhythms. Forget the stupid stuff that they're saying. Because this gets back to your point about what somebody was saying, that Dilla being like the last contribution. Yo, niggas, wow. See, they got me off my point. I'm saying, but they're not listening.
We live.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we live. Right. Yeah, but they're not listening, bro. Like, I don't endorse the message behind it. I mean, even somebody like this terrible. On one hand, it is lame, but from a rhythmic standpoint, it bears investigation. Like this kid, Blueface. Honestly, even Glorilla, the way that the kids are riding the beat now, it is terrible if you compare it to what's come before in the wrong kind of way. If you
Blueface is brilliant.
See, I'm only listening to the rhythms, the content, and then the character and all of that. I can't get with it.
I hear what you're saying,
but go ahead, because I feel like I'm hijacking you.
When we stick to the rhythm, though, it's like I'm really curious to ask him what music
Informed. Come on, Jack.
Yes.
Come on. Because he's not pulling it out.
What was played for you?
Yeah. Who's influencing you? Yeah. Like who's, because a lot of times these cats, they're just doing their impersonation of somebody else.
Right. Okay. Because we talked about 2 and 3, right?
Yeah. Come on.
All right. You got boots, coots, boop, 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 coot. Like, okay, there's the duple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there's a triple, right?
Yeah.
And Blueface doing something else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
that is in there, but it's like it's a departure.
Yeah. It's the way that it's like they're just talking, but it's so ahead of the beat. But it's got pocket.
Right.
And see, that's why the person, whoever said that, I'm just like, dog, you not listening because...
Like he must play djembe or something.
I agree. In fact, I've never articulated it like this until now. Dilla, the reason why everybody... First off, let me say this about Dilla. To me, Dilla is just the digital Errol Garner. Because you can't get no further behind the beat than Garner. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, yeah.
When you talk about the Blangalang.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the thing is when you talk about black rhythm, you're talking about behind the beat, dead in the center, ahead of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like the thing about what these kids are doing now, they figured out a new way to be ahead of the beat. That's all that it is. They're rushing. It's just plain and simple. They're rushing, but they're making it work. Mm-hmm. And it deserves some investigation because it's like
a swing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this is a thing. Like we need to see what they're doing. So
that's what the Academy did. It said this is swing, tang tang to tang tang.
Right.
But it's just like that's a swing.
Exactly. That's that. Yeah, a swing. I agree totally, man.
And it deserves all the respect and attention it should get. But it's just like, I don't know. I think it goes back to what Ryan was saying about that bell.
Come on.
In New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's like there's claves, there's grooves, there's rhythm. Like, there's so many ways to slice the cat, but it's just like, yeah, they say follow the money. If you want to see what's going on, follow the rhythm section.
Right.
If you want to see whether the music is changing. Mm-hmm. Just in the rhythm section. Miles did that. Every time Miles changed the music, he changed his rhythm section.
Bruh, I'll say this, and I think we can get ready to wind it down. So, I agree with that wholeheartedly. We just did a Miles Davis tribute. You were part of that. And whenever we did like the on-screen interviews, one of the things that I was sharing was like, yo, Miles was a master rhythmist. Mm-hmm. And you're completely right. Miles didn't have a problem with the eighth note or the space between the eighth note. He called it the beat within the beat. Mm-hmm. He had no problem with it changing. In fact, he actually got excited about the challenge of making his 1945 fit in each decade.
He kept playing the same stuff.
Yeah.
He said in an interview, it was like, no, I have to keep changing it for you so you can like it. Mm-hmm. Meaning the audience.
Right.
Like, I'm changing it for y'all. Because if I'm playing the same music the same way I was playing it 10 years ago, my heart's not in the same place.
It's real.
It's not fresh. It's not like, it's when you call your friend, like, yo, I made one last night. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
Like, it's that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're a pop artist, like, there was a Lil Wayne interview recently where he was talking about there was a time in hip hop where you put out a single and the hip hop world would stop and go listen to it just to like argue with somebody, with your other friend, or with the barber shop,
right?
Your pickup basketball game, the other parents in line to pick a kid up at school. Man, you heard the new Nas?
Right.
Man, that was trash. What are you talking about, son?
Right. Yeah.
Just to argue.
Yeah.
And now it's just like it's coming through TikTok.
It's very true.
So it's different. So like if you can figure out how to be a pop artist and be like, yo, America, the world, I made this last night. Like come with that energy. Even if it took 6 years.
Right.
Or 6 months or whatever to produce it, like it's just gotta be like, yo, I got one for y'all. You know? I'm trying to have that energy.
I dig.
You know? And that's where I am with like rhythm sections and the music I'm creating. It's just like, okay, I've heard that, but what can I do to make this go this way, that way? Like, how can I take this thing you've heard before and give you something surprising in it? Something you didn't know you wanted in there. That's the thing. People are like, oh, I never knew I wanted to hear this. Like that, I'm chasing that.
Well, dog, that's a powerful place to end, man.
Yeah, I'm done.
So y'all heard it. He said he's chasing that. He wants to play something that you didn't even know you wanted to hear, but now that you've heard it, you're just like, yeah, that's what I needed. That's powerful.
If you can make somebody feel that once, like, that's a lot. That's big.
That's huge, man. Well, dog, thank you, man. You know what I'm saying, for shooting this with me. Everybody, look, we're going to be... Yeah, we're going to be coming back at you with some more amazing conversations and rhythms. Hopefully this won't be our last one. You know, we can do this again. And with that said, we out.
All right.